5 ways women emasculate their husbands so they don't want to have sex with them. Another way to look at this is 5 reasons your husband doesn't want sex anymore. In all of these, the undercurrent and the reason is emasculation. To make a man, our husband, stop feeling like a man and not feeling good about themselves. And that can happen in the day-to-day, like I talked about earlier, the day-to-day emasculation, just of how we treat them in general, making them wrong and bad, making them feel that no matter what they do, it's never enough, not showing appreciation or affection. Just the day-to-day emasculation that degrades a man's sense of himself as a man and makes him feel bad about himself, but also making sex an emasculating event, which is more of what we are going to talk about. So getting into the 5 ways we emasculate men so they don't want sex with us. Number 1, making them feel incompetent in the bedroom. And again, this can be covert or overt if it's what you're feeling on the inside and projecting out just through how you're feeling. It has the same effect as if you're being verbal and vocalizing the ways you find your husband incompetent and inadequate in the bedroom. And this is when you might make your husband believe that he doesn't know what you like or know your body well enough to please you, that he doesn't know what it takes to make you aroused and excited, and putting the responsibility on him. He has to do all of these things to turn you on and make you satisfied in the bedroom. And when he can't, and you make that known, again, either covertly or overtly, it makes him feel bad about himself and makes him feel inadequate. So then he will pull away and withdraw from sex. Again, we are the problem in this. The second way we emasculate men to the point, or emasculate our husbands to the point of them no longer wanting sex with us or not wanting it very often. Number 2, judging him for his appearance, his weight, his size, and how it affects your ability to be intimate with him. And again, really important, I want to keep it reiterating this, that either be overt or covert. If you're repulsed by your husband's looks or appearance, but you try not to wear it on the outside, he still feels it. He can feel and sense the judgment. And we all know that experience, just as humans, men and women in general. We can feel, even when someone's not overtly judging us, we can feel it. We sense it. So we make them insecure by judging them for their appearance, to when then again, they withdraw from sex and don't want to have sex. It's another form of emasculation. Number 3, of how as women we emasculate our husbands to the point of them not wanting to have sex with us. He has been emasculated to the point of having erectile dysfunction. Number 3, he has been emasculated by his wife to the point of having ED. I'm going to get a little bit into this. If you want a more in-depth understanding of how this works, you want to check out episode 16 about erectile dysfunction. That's under the live tab on the channel. We're really twisted in this as women. And we're looking at ED, this is important, not from a medical, physical experience, but from an emotional, psychological experience. I think it was from the Mayo Clinic, and I'm not 100% because it was a while since I did this video. But I believe it was the Mayo Clinic that the number one reason for ED in men is psychological stress, usually from the marriage or relationship. It is a psychological, emotional issue that stems from his wife emasculating him. And with ED, a man becomes uncomfortable and embarrassed because as women, we will make them wrong and bad for having ED. And this is where we're really, really twisted. That we will, and it's what I talk about in that episode, that we will emasculate our husbands to the point of ED so we don't have to have sex. Then once they get to that point, then we say we want it and that we're neglected and we're on the short end of the stick because our husbands have ED. Then make their ED all about us and how it's affecting us with no sensitivity, empathy for what our husbands are going through. If your husband has ED, he's the one suffering. That I don't have adequate words and I don't have the firsthand experience in being a woman, but how devastating and crushing that is to a man. That is his manhood and sense of being a man. So we will emasculate them to that point and then make them wrong and bad that that's what's happening. And make it all about us and how we're suffering because we can't have sex. So I have an example of this from a former student who suffered with ED. And his wife emasculated him for having ED, made him feel bad and wrong, and how she wanted to have sex, and why wasn't he doing anything about it? You need to get it corrected. You're not even trying. So he gets it corrected. Testosterone treatment worked for him, as well as some therapy. And he overcame it. And then she didn't want to have sex and pulled the trauma card. All of a sudden, she realized she had trauma from earlier in her life and that now she needed to work through that and she couldn't have sex. Nothing makes us happy. And we always want what we don't have. So that's a really, really good example of how there's always a hidden agenda. And once we get married, and again, in the context of being married to a good man, we stop wanting sex. And if we're still having it or we want a lot of it, there's a hidden agenda. And I think that is a perfect example to highlight that. The third way that women emasculate their husbands to the point of their husbands not wanting sex anymore, number 4, women are insensitive to a man's insecurities in the bedroom. So we dismiss their insecurities and think they're too sensitive. And that can happen by either comparing our husbands to past lovers or past boyfriends and how they could please us and knew. And it's kind of astounding to me that as women, we would even vocalize that in our marriages to our husband and talk about our past experiences or past lovers or boyfriends and how that makes a man feel inadequate and very insecure in the bedroom. I have another example of this. I spoke with a woman a few months ago where she talked about, my husband holds on to this hurt because one time we were having sex and I just said, oh, that feels really good. That's where my massage therapist massages. And if you keep doing that, it feels so good. And her massage therapist was a male. And she couldn't understand why her husband and belittled him because he was hurt by that and insecure by that. Can you imagine the tables turned and how a woman would react if her husband said something like that while they were having sex? Or our husbands talked about their past girlfriends and past experiences with sex. So we're insensitive to their insecurities and say things and do things that add to their insecurities in the bedroom, and then they withdraw and don't want to have sex or to have it as often. And number 5, of women, we emasculate our husbands to the point of them not wanting sex with us. Number 5, he has lost his emotional attraction to his wife. For a good man, when his wife is emasculating him on a day-to-day basis, in big ways and little ways, with the criticism, being controlling, mothering him, making him feel bad and wrong, her never being happy, nothing he does is ever enough. neglecting him, demeaning him, not appreciating him, showing him affection. That creates a disinterest in sex. A good man in general, we're not talking about college days or before marriage, but in general, a good man can't sleep with a lot of different kind of women and just sleep with a woman to have sex. There has to be at least a little bit of an emotional connection there. Because a good man is not a bad boy. A bad boy can have sex with all different kinds of women because he just wants a lot of sex with a lot of different women, and he wants to conquer women. It's not in a good man's makeup. He needs to have an emotional connection. So when he's being emasculated on a day-to-day basis, out of the bedroom, just in the day-to-day interactions with his wife and how she treats him, that kills an emotional attraction, so then he's disinterested in sex. It's why I hear from good men where, sadly, their wives have said something along the lines that when they're not interested in sex, when they say, a woman says something along the lines of just, I don't care if you go outside the marriage, you can go get it somewhere else. I don't want to have sex. I'm not interested in it. So the flip of what we're talking about today, but this is a good example. A good man, I've had many good men tell me that. She tells me to just go outside the marriage, but I can't do that because I love her and I want to have sex with my wife. Is because they don't want to just go have sex to have sex, because they want that emotional connection there and they want to have sex with their wives. But in what we're talking about today, if he isn't wanting to have sex, a big reason to that in a form of emasculation is he has lost the emotional attraction because of the emasculation. So those are the 5 ways that a woman emasculates her husband to the point of him no longer wanting sex.